I'm Max Lopez, and this is the Blue Wave. We've got a new poll here from Harvard that has some really good news for the Harris campaign as it shows her with a 31-point lead over the former president Donald Trump in voters aged 18 to 29. Now, let's go ahead and look at this poll here. A national poll released today by the Institute of Politics at the Harvard Kennedy School indicates that among 18 to 29-year-olds nationwide, Vice President Kamala Harris has a commanding 31-point lead over former President Donald Trump. The poll shows Harris leading Trump 64 to 32 among likely voters in a two-way hypothetical scenario. So, a few more things here about the poll. A significant enthusiasm gap between young Democrats and Republicans, with 74% of young Democrats saying they will definitely vote compared to 60% of young Americans. A widening gender gap, nearly doubling from 17 points in the spring poll to 30 points now, with Harris leading 70% to 23% among likely female voters. And Harris outperforming Trump on key personal qualities and issues, with substantial leads in empathy, reliability, honesty, climate change, and abortion, and healthcare, and gun violence among all young adults. So this is really significant here because what we saw after Joe Biden's disastrous debate performance on CNN that got him out of the race ultimately was that Biden lost support from older people, right? Which is a group that he was able to retain support from ever since he got elected. And Trump actually saw a bit of slippage of support from people age 60 and over. So what this shows here is that now that Biden and Biden's been making up ground with the older support in this country, with things like capping $2,000 of out-of-pocket expenses for drugs, taking steps to reduce the price of insulin, and allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. What this has done is it's created a very small pool of voters that Donald Trump has to potentially go to make up some of these deficiencies in the youth vote. Now, what we saw in 2020 was a massive turnout of Gen Z and millennials for Biden in key swing states such as Georgia and in Pennsylvania that pushed him over the edge. Now, like I said, we saw a bit of a slippage of that support from when Biden was elected until Harris ultimately took over the top of the Democratic ticket. But what this is showing is that now that the youth vote is swinging back towards the Democrats in dramatic ways, as this poll is pointing out, where does Donald Trump have left to go to make up that gap of support? It's not going to be with women. It's not going to be with middle-class voters. It's not going to be with older voters. So where does he go, right? And I think when you look at what's being offered by these two different campaigns, what we see is an overwhelming rejection of Project 2025, as this Harvard poll also shows here, is that only 16% of Americans approve of Project 2025, which kind of goes to show why the Trump administration has done everything he can to distance himself from the policies that are described in Project 2025. But the thing is that the architects of Project 2025 that lays out a Republican vision for the future of the country have very close ties to Donald Trump that the American people have not forgotten. Now, you know, what the Trump campaign has to offer is hatred and division and riling up people based on their fear. And what we know is that a cornerstone of Trump's message is immigration, immigration, immigration. Basically creating this disastrous, fear-mongering situation where our country is being taken over by immigrants and they're pouring over the border in the millions and millions and millions. But those tactics might work on people who are living their lives based out of more fear and fear of the unknown and wanting to keep things the same as they are. But I don't think that these tactics work as easily on younger people who typically have a little bit more optimism and just aren't so easily kind of led by their nose towards those kinds of talking points. And another thing is that Project 2025, in terms of the environment, which is something that the youth vote considers to be very, very important, because we presumably have a decent amount of time to still be on this earth, and we're going to have to deal with the ramifications of climate change that the older generations aren't going to have to deal with. You look at what's been offered and the solutions from the Trump campaign and the Harris campaign, and it's just completely night and day. I mean, Trump bloviates about climate change not being that bad because he's going to have more ocean front property because the oceans are going to rise an eighth of an inch, he says. That's all that's happening. The oceans are just rising an eighth of an inch, but it's honestly not that big of a deal because he'll have more oceanfront property. That's what Trump's concerns are when it relates to climate change, when we know that climate change is the most existential threat that our species is facing on this earth at this moment, right? Because it means that the earth isn't just warming up a little bit and the oceans aren't just going up an eighth of a quarter of an inch. Climate around this country is becoming much, much more severe, and the fallout from disastrous oil drilling and handouts to big oil companies is being felt already by many, many people dealing with increased disastrous extreme weather in this country. So, I look at the percentage of youth that are going for Donald Trump, and to me, it's like, why are they going for Trump? What is it that Trump is offering anybody in this country that is making less than, I don't know, $15 million a year, and anybody that is under a certain age? What is Trump offering? Absolutely nothing. And while you can criticize Harris for being somewhat light on the policy details of her campaign up until this point, what she has given us is something that is much, much more appealing than what Donald Trump offers, which is absolutely nothing at all but hatred and division and a rolling back of rights that we've known to have in this country for a long time, and doing absolutely nothing about the climate catastrophe that is facing our species. So that's all I got for you guys in this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with someone who's into politics. It helps YouTube take my channel more seriously and get the word out to more and more people. All right? You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.